Daniel Hayes thought opening his front door would lead to awkward first-date conversation. Instead, he found a woman trembling in the rain, her voice barely above a whisper. "My kids are in the car." In that single moment, his quiet life shattered. This wasn't romance, it was desperation. Maya Brooks wasn't looking for love, she was running for survival, and the man she fled from was already hunting her down. Some dates end with a goodnight kiss. This one would end with sirens and bloodshed. The rain came down like God had punched a hole in the sky. Daniel Hayes stood at his bathroom mirror razor, hovering over 3 days of stubble, wondering when exactly he'd become the kind of man who needed a pep talk just to go on a date. The fluorescent bulb buzzed overhead, casting his reflection in harsh light that made the gray at his temples look like smoke, the lines around his eyes like cracks in old leather. 38. Single father. Auto mechanic with grease permanently embedded under his nails. Real Catch Hayes. He splashed cold water on his face and heard Leo's game controller clicking from downstairs. 9 years old and already more perceptive than most adults, Daniel knew. The kid had inherited his mother's dark curls, her quick smile, her uncanny ability to see through bullshit at 50 paces. Sarah had been gone 4 years now. Cancer moved through her like wildfire, 3 months from diagnosis to funeral. Some days Daniel still reached for her in bed, still turned to share a joke before remembering she wasn't there. But Leo needed stability more than Daniel needed grief, so he'd buried the worst of it deep and learned to function around the hole in his chest. The doorbell would ring in 20 minutes. Marcus from the garage had arranged this blind date 3 weeks ago, after finding Daniel eating lunch alone in his car for the 5th day straight. "Man, you're turning into a hermit. My wife's got this friend, nice lady, recently separated. Just coffee, just conversation. You remember conversation, right?" Daniel had said yes mainly to shut Marcus up. Now he regretted it. He descended the stairs, each step creaking familiar protests. The house was small, a 2-bedroom rental with carpet that had been beige in the 90s, and heating that worked 3 seasons out of 4. But it was theirs. Pictures of Leo covered the walls, soccer team school plays, that camping trip where they'd seen a black bear, and Leo had simultaneously wanted to run toward it and away from it. Leo was sprawled on their sagging couch, fingers dancing over the controller, eyes locked on the TV, where zombies exploded in pixelated gore. "You're gonna wear that?" Leo asked without looking up. Daniel glanced down at his jeans and button-down. "What's wrong with this?" "Nothing if you're going to Home Depot." Leo paused his game and turned, scrutinizing his father with an intensity that made Daniel feel like a suspect in a lineup. "Mom's blue shirt, the one in the back of your closet." Something caught in Daniel's throat. "Buddy, she'd want you to look nice, and that shirt makes you look less like you fix cars, and more like you could, I don't know, be on TV or something." Leo's voice cracked slightly on the word mom, betraying the 9-year-old beneath the wise guy exterior. Daniel climbed back upstairs without arguing. The blue shirt still smelled faintly of Sarah's perfume even after 4 years. He pulled it on, smoothed the collar, and felt like an imposter in his own skin. But when he came back down, Leo gave him an approving nod. "Better, now you just gotta not be weird." "How am I weird?" "You do this thing where you smile, but your eyes don't smile. Makes you look like a serial killer." "Where'd you learn about serial killers?" "Documentary on Netflix." "You fell asleep during it." Daniel ruffled his son's hair, felt the kid lean into the touch for just a second before pulling away. "I'll try to smile with my whole face. That help?" "It's a start." Leo unpaused his game, but his shoulders were tight. "Dad, you know you don't have to do this, right? The date thing. We're good, just us." And there it was, the fear underneath the smart-ass comments, the terror that bringing someone new into their small world might crack the foundation they'd built on grief and determination. Daniel sat on the arm of the couch. Outside rain hammered the windows like it was trying to get in. "You're right, we are good, but maybe good can be better. Maybe there's room for more people at our pizza table. He waited until Leo looked at him. Nothing changes you being my number one, ever, got it? Leo nodded, but his grip on the controller stayed white-knuckled. The doorbell rang, 7 o'clock exactly. Daniel's stomach executed a complicated gymnastic routine. He stood, wiped his palms on his jeans, crossed to the door. Through the frosted glass panel he could see a dark shape, a woman, rain streaming down behind her. He opened the door. The woman on his porch looked like she'd crawled out of a shipwreck. Water poured off her in sheets. Her dark hair, maybe brown or black, was plastered to her skull and face. Mascara ran down her cheeks in black rivers. She wore a thin floral dress and cardigan, both soaked through, clinging to a frame that shook violently. Not from cold, from something worse. Her eyes were what stopped Daniel's breath. Wide, glassy, the whites showing all around like a spooked horse. This was a woman in the grip of primal fear. Daniel. His name came out broken, barely audible over the rain. Yeah, Maya. He reached for her instinctively steadying hand on her elbow. Her skin was ice. Jesus, get inside your... But she didn't move. Her eyes darted past him, into the house, scanned the street behind her, came back to his face. Her hands strangled a small black purse, knuckles bone white. I shouldn't have come. The words tumbled out fast, panicked. This was stupid. I need to go. I'm sorry. She turned, and that's when the porch light caught her face at the right angle. The bruise spread from her left cheekbone down to her jaw, a sickly sunset of purple and yellow and green. Fresh, maybe 12 hours old. Rain washed away streaks of makeup, revealing the full geography of violence. Daniel's blood went cold. Who did that to you? Maya's hand flew to her face. Touched the bruise, flinched. I fell. It's nothing. That's not nothing. I have to go. My kids are in the car. The words were so quiet Daniel almost missed them, but Maya's eyes filled with tears, and she said it again, louder, more desperate. My kids are in the car. They're waiting, in the rain. Her voice cracked. Marcus said you were safe. He said you were good. I didn't know where else to go. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed... She stopped, chest heaving, looking at Daniel like he was the last exit on a highway to hell. Daniel looked past her. At the curb sat an old Honda Civic engine, running headlights off. Through the rain-streaked windshield, he could make out two small silhouettes in the back seat. Children, waiting while their mother stood on a stranger's porch, beaten and terrified. The back seat was packed with garbage bags. Everything you could grab in 15 minutes. Everything that mattered when you ran. Understanding hit Daniel like a physical blow. This wasn't a date. This was a lifeline thrown by a drowning woman who'd grabbed it without knowing if it would hold. How old are they? His voice came out steady, military steady. The voice that said, I've seen worse, and I know what to do. What? Your kids? How old? 6 and 4, girl and boy. Daniel nodded once. Decision made. Bring them inside. I can't just... Yes, you can. He stepped out into the rain, cold water, instantly soaking through Sarah's blue shirt. You can because whoever gave you that bruise knows what you drive, probably knows your habits, and sitting in a parked car makes you a target. He started down the porch steps. Come on. Maya hesitated for only a heartbeat before following. Up close, the Civic was worse than Daniel thought. The passenger mirror hung by wires. The back bumper was held on with duct tape. Inside, garbage bags full of clothes pressed against windows. A booster seat, a child's backpack, a stuffed elephant. Two faces watched him from the back seat with the stillness of prey animals. The girl, maybe 6, had her arms wrapped around a smaller boy. Both had their mother's dark eyes. Both watched Daniel with an expression he recognized from deployments overseas. The look of children who'd learned that adults were dangerous, unpredictable creatures. Maya opened the back door. Emma, baby, it's okay. This is Daniel. He's going to help us. I don't want to. Emma's voice was small but firm. I want to go to Nana's. We talked about this, sweetheart. We can't go to Nana's. Because Daddy knows where Nana lives, the little boy Oliver announced. He said it matter-of-factly, like reciting the alphabet. And Daddy's really, really mad. The casual way he said it made Daniel's jaw clench. Like being hunted by an angry father was just another fact of life, like gravity or bedtime. Daniel crouched down, getting on their level. Rain poured down his neck, soaked his shoulders. He made his voice gentle. "Hey guys, I'm Daniel. I've got a son inside named Leo who's about to beat level 9 of Zombie Crashers. You know that game?" Oliver's eyes went wide. "The new one, brand new, came out last Tuesday." Daniel glanced at Maya, who gave a tiny nod. "Also, my heater actually works, which makes it better than this car, and I'm pretty sure you're both about to turn into ice cubes if you stay out here much longer." Emma studied him with unnerving focus. Her next question came out flat, testing. "Do you yell?" The question landed like a punch. This 6-year-old had learned to screen adults for violence the way other kids screened for whether you had good snacks. "No, sweetheart," Daniel said. "No yelling, I promise." "Our dad yells a lot," Oliver offered, "and he breaks stuff. He broke Mommy's phone yesterday." "Oliver, hush." Maya's voice splintered tired. Daniel stood and met Maya's eyes over the car roof. In them, he saw exhaustion, shame, terror, and underneath it all, a desperate gamble that this stranger might be different, that showing up here might not have been the stupidest thing she'd ever done. "Let's get them warm," he said simply. Inside, Leo had paused his game and stood by the couch, taking in the dripping refugees with open curiosity. Water pooled on the hardwood. Emma clutched Oliver's hand. Oliver clutched the stuffed elephant. Leo grabbed clothes from the donation box, the smaller stuff. Daniel turned to Maya. "Bathrooms down the hall, towels in the cabinet, get them dry." "I don't want to impose." "You're not imposing. You're cold and wet, and those kids need to be warm. Everything else we'll figure out after." He said it with finality, the same tone he used for non-negotiables, like bedtime and seatbelts. Something in Maya's face crumpled. The mask of holding it together fractured just slightly. She nodded and herded Emma and Oliver toward the bathroom, whispering reassurances Daniel couldn't quite hear. Leo materialized at his elbow. "Dad?" "Yeah, buddy." "That's not a normal date, is it?" "No, son, it's not." "She looks really scared." "She is." Leo was quiet for a moment, processing. Then quieter. "That little boy Oliver, he's got marks on his arm, like fingers." Daniel had seen them too. 4 distinct bruises on Oliver's upper arm, the perfect imprint of an adult hand that had grabbed too hard, too angry. "I know. That's bad. That's very bad." They stood together in the quiet house, listening to water drip to rain against windows, to the soft murmur of Maya's voice, soothing her children in the bathroom. The ordinary sounds of life interrupted by something that was anything but ordinary. "You did good noticing," Daniel said. "Now help me figure out dinner. Kids like pasta, right?" "Everyone likes pasta." Leo headed for the kitchen, then paused. "Dad, I'm glad she came here. To us." Daniel's throat tightened. "Yeah, buddy, me too." The bathroom door opened 20 minutes later. Emma emerged wearing one of Leo's old Minecraft shirts, like a dress, her dark hair damp and wild. Oliver swam in sweatpants, rolled 3 times at the waist. Both looked less like drowned refugees and more like regular kids. Tired kids. Scared kids. But kids. Maya had dried off, but her dress still clung damply to her frame. She'd given up on makeup. The bruise stood out in brutal relief, a topographic map of violence. "Better?" Daniel asked from the kitchen, where he was dumping pasta into boiling water. "Much better, thank you." Her smile was fragile, held together with spit and hope. "We won't stay long. I just needed a minute to think." "When they last eat?" Maya blinked. "What? The kids. When did they eat last?" She looked at Emma and Oliver, who'd gravitated toward Leo and the video game. "Breakfast, McDonald's, this morning, I think. It's 7:30 at night." I know, her voice rose defensively. We left in a hurry. I wasn't thinking clearly. Daniel held up both hands, peace offering, not judging, just saying those kids need food. He stirred sauce into the pot. We've got plenty. You don't have to. Yeah, you keep saying that. He pulled out plates, started setting the table. Here's the thing, Maya. I don't know your story yet. Don't need to. But I know terrified when I see it. I know running. He met her eyes. And I know those kids didn't ask for whatever hell you're fleeing. So you can sit down, let me make dinner, and give yourself 1 hour to breathe. Or you can leave and drive around until you run out of gas. He set down the last plate. Your call. Maya stood frozen between the kitchen and living room. From behind her came Leo's voice explaining game controls. Oliver's excited questions, Emma's quiet observations. The sound of kids being kids instead of witnesses to violence. 1 hour, she whispered. 1 hour. She didn't leave after 1 hour. Dinner was simple. Jar sauce, overcooked noodles, freezer garlic bread. But the kids ate like they'd been starving. Oliver had 3 plates. Emma picked at first, watching Daniel with those assessing eyes before finally digging in. Leo kept up steady chatter, filling silences with stories about school soccer, the camping trip where they'd seen a bear, and Leo had wanted to run toward it and away from it at the same time. Maya ate nothing. She sat at the scarred kitchen table, hands wrapped around tea. She didn't drink, watching her children with an intensity that made Daniel's chest ache. Every few minutes her eyes would flick to the front window, checking the darkness beyond, looking for headlights. That meant her past had caught up. When the kids finished, Leo caught Daniel's eye and gave a tiny nod toward the stairs. Smart kid. Oliver, you like Legos? Oliver's face lit up. I love Legos. Cool, 'cause I've got this new spaceship set upstairs. We haven't opened yet. Wanna help? Can I, Mom? Maya started to say no, but Emma spoke first. I want to see too. Emma, please, Mom. Maya looked at Daniel. He gave a slight nod. Trust me. Okay, but stay upstairs with Leo. The 3 kids thundered up the stairs, leaving Daniel and Maya alone. Rain had gentled to a whisper. The house settled around them, creaking and breathing. Maya stared into her tea like it held prophecies. Daniel sat across from her and waited. Patience was something the army had beaten into him. Sometimes people needed silence more than questions. After a long while, Maya spoke. His name is Derek, my husband. She said husband like it was a curse word. We've been married 8 years, met in college. He was charming, attentive, all the things you're supposed to want. Her laugh was bitter. Guess I should have paid attention to how he treated waiters, how he talked about his ex, all those little red flags I painted green because I was young and stupid. You weren't stupid. I stayed for 8 years. 3 of those years he's been hitting me. That feels pretty stupid. Daniel's hands curled into fists under the table. How bad? Started with yelling, calling me worthless, telling me I was lucky he put up with me, then pushing during arguments, then slapping. She touched the bruise absently. Then this morning when I said I was taking the kids and leaving. What did he say? Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. He said, you're not going anywhere. You're mine. You try to leave and I'll find you. I'll take those kids and you'll never see them again. She looked up, eyes red. Then he hit me hard enough I saw stars, and I realized if I didn't leave right then, I never would, or I'd end up dead. So you grabbed the kids and ran. I grabbed the kids and ran. She wiped her eyes angrily. $80 in my purse. No credit cards, he controls those. My mom's in Florida and she's not well, can't help. No other family nearby. I was supposed to cancel this date. It was set up weeks ago when I was still pretending everything was fine. But when you texted to confirm, I thought... She trailed off. You thought what? That maybe you'd let me use your phone, help me find a shelter. She shook her head. I didn't mean to dump all this on you. Hell of a first date. Daniel pulled out his phone, scrolled through contacts, set it in front of her. My buddy Rick runs a nonprofit downtown. They help women in your situation. Safe houses, legal aid, job placement. That's his personal cell. Maya stared at the phone like it might explode. Just like that. Just like that. You don't know me. I know enough. Her hand trembled as she reached for the phone, then pulled back. It's late. I can't call now. Rick answers any time. That's his whole job. Tomorrow. I'll call tomorrow. Her voice was firm. Tonight I just need to not think about it. Can I have that? Just a few hours where I'm not planning or running or terrified. Whatever you need. From upstairs came Oliver's laugh, high and pure. The sound of a kid who'd forgotten to be afraid. Maya's whole face softened. They like your son. Leo's good with kids. Gets it from his mom. Daniel paused. She died 4 years ago. Cancer. God, I'm so sorry. Don't be. I mean, I miss her every day. But she taught us how to keep going when everything falls apart. He met Maya's eyes. Sometimes you don't get to choose what happens to you. You just choose what you do about it. And you chose to take in a stranger and her kids. I chose to do what I'd want someone to do for Leo if we were running. He shrugged. You're not a stranger. You're Marcus's friend. That's good enough. You trust easy. I trust my gut, and my gut says you're trying to do right by your kids. Maya opened her mouth to respond, but froze. Her eyes locked on something outside the kitchen window. Her whole body went rigid. What is it? Daniel asked. I thought. She stood, slowly moved to the window, peered into the darkness. Nothing. I'm paranoid. But Daniel saw it too. Headlights moving too slow down the residential street. The vehicle crept past his house, brake lights flashing as it paused at his driveway. Is that him? Maya's breathing went shallow. I don't know. Maybe. He drives a black truck. That looks like... Her voice choked off. Oh, God. The truck stopped. Engine idling. Driver's door opening. Get away from the window. Daniel moved past her, hit the light switch. Darkness swallowed the kitchen. Through the window he watched a man climb out of the truck. Tall, broad shoulders, moving with aggressive confidence. The man started up Daniel's driveway. That's Derek. Maya's whisper was barely audible. How did he find us? Daniel's mind worked fast. Your phone, you have it? Yes, but... Her eyes went wide. He made me install a tracking app months ago for safety. I forgot. Oh, God, I forgot. The man was halfway up the driveway now, clean cut, handsome even. The kind of guy who probably coached Little League and helped old ladies with groceries. The kind of guy no one would believe hurt his family. Take the kids upstairs, Daniel said quietly. Lock yourselves in Leo's room. What are you going to do? Answer the door. Daniel, no, he's dangerous. So am I. Daniel looked at her. Trust me, get your kids. Go upstairs, be quiet. Maya ran. Daniel heard her call for the children, heard small feet thunder across floorboards, heard a door close and lock. Then silence, except for the rain and his own heartbeat. The doorbell rang. Daniel stood in his dark kitchen, remembering other doors in other countries. Doors that opened onto ambushes. Doors that led to firefights. Doors between safety and chaos. He'd stood in front of a lot of doors. The doorbell rang again, longer, insistent, then knocking, hard, demanding. Maya. The man's voice carried through the wood. I know you're in there. Your car's outside. Open this goddamn door. Daniel walked slowly to the entrance, flipped the porch light, unlocked the deadbolt, opened the door. Derek stood on the porch, rain dripping off his leather jacket, face twisted with rage. He was bigger than Daniel by 20 pounds, younger by 5 years, with gym muscles that looked good in mirrors but had never been tested. Who the hell are you? Derek demanded. I'm Daniel. You're on my porch, uninvited. Daniel kept his voice conversational. That's a problem. I don't give a damn about your porch. My wife is in there, my kids. Send them out. No. The word hung in the air, simple, final. Derek's laugh was ugly. Excuse me. I said no, they don't want to see you, so get off my property. You think you can keep my family from me? Derek stepped forward, finger jabbing the air. I'll call the cops. Tell them some psycho kidnapped my wife and children. You could do that. Daniel didn't move. Then I'd show them the bruises on Maya's face, the handprints on your son's arm. We'd see how that conversation goes. Derek's face darkened. You don't know what you're talking about. Maya's dramatic. We had a little disagreement this morning and she blew it out of proportion like she always does. A little disagreement that broke her cheekbone. She fell. Bullshit. Derek's hand shot out, grabbed Daniel's shirt front. Listen here, asshole. Daniel moved. Muscle memory from 100 training drills. He grabbed Derek's wrist, twisted hard, used the man's own momentum to yank him off balance. Derek stumbled, caught himself on the porch railing, eyes wide with shock. Don't touch me, Daniel said quietly, and don't come back here. Derek straightened slowly, eyes traveling down Daniel's arm to the tattoo visible beneath his rolled sleeve. Special Forces insignia. The calculation happened in real time. Daniel could see it. Bravado versus self-preservation. This isn't over, Derek said, backing toward his truck. I'll file for custody. I'll make her life hell until she comes crawling back. You do what you need to do, but she's not leaving tonight. And if you set foot on my property again, you'll regret it. Derek's jaw worked. You're making a big mistake, friend. Probably not the first. Won't be the last. Derek climbed into his truck and sat there, engine idling, staring at the house. Daniel stood in the doorway, didn't blink, didn't move, just waited with the patience learned from watching hostile villages, from standoffs that lasted hours, from knowing that the first person to break eye contact lost. Finally, the truck roared to life. Derek peeled out tires, squealing engine noise fading into rain and distance. Daniel stayed on the porch for 5 more minutes, making sure Derek didn't circle back, making sure the street stayed empty. Only when he was satisfied did he step inside and lock the door. His hands shook slightly, adrenaline crash. Old friend. Is he gone? Maya stood at the foot of the stairs, arms wrapped around herself. He's gone. He'll come back. Maybe. Not tonight. You shouldn't have confronted him. He could have... She couldn't finish. He could have what hit me. Daniel smiled without humor. I spent 6 years in the army, 3 in Afghanistan. Your husband's scary because he's bigger than you, and he spent years making you believe you can't fight back. He shrugged. To me, he's just another bully who's never been punched by someone his own size. Maya sat hard on the bottom step. I brought this to your door. Put you and Leo in danger. Stop. Daniel sat next to her. You didn't do anything wrong. He did. Running from someone who hurts you isn't complicated. It's survival. I don't know what happens next. We call Rick tomorrow. He'll help with the legal stuff, find you a place, get you on your feet. I can't ask. You're not asking. I'm offering. He glanced up the stairs toward where the kids were, probably pressed against Leo's door listening. Those kids deserve better than fear. You deserve better. I can't fix everything, but I can make sure you've got a safe place tonight and a plan tomorrow. Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. I don't even know you. You know I make decent pasta, and I don't yell. Daniel's smile was gentle. That's a start. She laughed, broken and wet and somehow hopeful. Yeah, that's a start. They sat in the quiet house, listening to rain fade to nothing, to their children's voices drifting down. 2 strangers who'd expected an awkward date and found something bigger. Not romance, not yet. But a door opening when all the others had slammed shut. A light in the window when the world went dark. A moment of breathing when drowning felt inevitable. And upstairs, 3 kids played with Legos, building spaceships that could fly away from danger, while downstairs 2 adults built something just as fragile and just as necessary. Hope. Sleep was impossible. Maya lay on Daniel's couch at 2 in the morning, staring at ceiling shadows cast by streetlights through rain-streaked windows. Emma and Oliver were curled together on an air mattress Daniel had inflated in Leo's room, finally unconscious after hours of whispered fears and questions Maya couldn't answer. Upstairs, the house was quiet. Down here, every creak sounded like footsteps. Every car passing outside made her heart slam against her ribs. She'd checked her phone 17 times in the last hour. No calls, no texts. Derek's silence felt more threatening than his rage. The floorboards above her head groaned softly. Footsteps. Maya sat up, pulse spiking, before remembering this was Daniel's house. Daniel's footsteps, not Derek's. A moment later, Daniel appeared at the bottom of the stairs wearing sweatpants and an old army t-shirt, hair sticking up at odd angles. He stopped when he saw her sitting upright. "Can't sleep either?" he asked quietly. "Every time I close my eyes, I see him on your porch." Maya wrapped the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "I keep thinking he's going to come back with the police, or a lawyer, or just break down the door." Daniel moved to the kitchen without turning on the overhead light, navigating by muscle memory. She heard the soft hiss of the faucet, the click of the stove igniting. A minute later, he returned with 2 mugs of tea. "He's not coming back tonight," Daniel said, settling into the armchair across from her. "Guys like Derek, they're used to intimidation working. When it doesn't, they regroup, figure out a new strategy. You sound like you know him." "I know the type." Daniel sipped his tea. "Had a sergeant in Afghanistan, guy named Patterson. Real piece of work. Friendly to officers, hell on wheels to anyone below him. Found out later he'd been beating his wife for years. She finally left him while we were deployed. He spent 6 months making her life hell from overseas. Emails, phone calls, threatening her family. What happened? She got a restraining order. He violated it the day he got home. Ended up in jail." Daniel's jaw tightened. Should have ended up there years earlier, but she was too scared to report him, and no one else wanted to see it. Maya studied him in the dim light. "Is that why you let me in, because of her?" "I let you in because you needed help, and I could give it." He met her eyes. "But yeah, Patterson's wife crossed my mind. I remember thinking if someone had helped her sooner, maybe she wouldn't have wasted 12 years married to a monster." The word monster settled between them. Maya had never called Derek that, not out loud, but hearing it from someone else felt like permission. "I used to love him," she said quietly. "In the beginning, he was charming, successful, made me feel like I was the only person in the room." She laughed bitterly. "Guess that should have been a red flag. The intensity, how fast he moved. 3 months from first date to proposal." "When did it change?" "After Emma was born, I was exhausted, overwhelmed, trying to figure out how to keep a tiny human alive. He hated that she needed me more than I needed him. Started with comments. 'You're letting yourself go. Other new moms don't complain this much. Maybe if you tried harder.'" Maya's hands tightened around her mug. Then Oliver came along, and it got worse. The yelling started, things getting thrown during arguments. One night he shoved me and I fell, hit my head on the counter. He apologized for weeks, brought flowers, promised it would never happen again. But it did. It always does. Maya's voice was flat, and every time I told myself it was the last time, that he'd change, that I could fix it if I just tried harder, complained less, was better. She looked at Daniel. "You want to know the worst part? I started believing him when he said it was my fault, that I provoked him, that I was too sensitive." Daniel leaned forward, her elbows on his knees. "Maya, listen to me. None of that was your fault. Not 1 second of it. I stayed. That was my choice. Staying was survival. You were protecting your kids the best way you knew how." His voice was gentle but firm. "Leaving is what takes real courage. And you did that. This morning you grabbed your kids and ran. That's not weakness, that's strength." Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. She wiped them away angrily. "I'm so tired of crying." "Then don't apologize for it. Cry as much as you need." Daniel stood, disappeared into the kitchen, returned with a box of tissues. My wife Sarah, toward the end, she cried all the time, hated it, said she was tired of being sad, tired of being sick. I told her the same thing I'm telling you. Tears don't make you weak, they make you human. Maya took a tissue, pressed it to her eyes. How did you do it after she died? How did you keep going? Leo. The answer was immediate. I didn't have a choice. He needed me to get up every morning, make breakfast, pack lunches, pretend the world hadn't ended. So I did. Daniel's voice roughened. Some days I did it badly. Burned the eggs, forgot about parent-teacher conferences, let him watch too much TV because I couldn't face another conversation. But I showed up. That's all you can do. Show up. Show up. Keep breathing. Take it 1 hour at a time if one day feels too long. They sat in comfortable silence, drinking tea, listening to the house settle. Outside, rain had stopped. Stars tried to break through cloud cover. Daniel. Yeah. Why did you really open the door when you saw me standing there looking like a drowned rat with a black eye? You could have said it was a bad time, sent me away. Daniel considered the question. You want the honest answer? Always. Because 4 years ago, when Sarah was dying, I felt completely alone. Friends didn't know what to say, so they said nothing. Family meant well, but they had their own lives. It was me and Leo in this bubble of grief, and I kept thinking if one person would just show up, just see us, just help. He set down his mug. When you showed up tonight terrified and beaten with 2 scared kids, I saw someone who needed what I'd needed, someone to show up. Maya's throat tightened. Thank you for showing up. You would have done the same. I don't know if I would have been that brave. You grabbed your kids and left an abuser. That's the bravest thing I've seen in years. Upstairs, a door creaked open. Small footsteps patted across the floor. Oliver appeared at the top of the stairs, clutching his stuffed elephant eyes wide and frightened. Mommy! Maya was up in an instant. Baby, what's wrong? I had a bad dream. Daddy was yelling and you were crying and I couldn't find Emma. His voice trembled. Is Daddy here? No, sweetheart, Daddy's not here. You're safe. Oliver descended the stairs slowly, each step careful. When he reached the bottom, he climbed into Maya's lap despite being too big for it, burying his face in her shoulder. I don't want to go back home, he whispered. Maya's arms tightened around him. We're not going back. Promise, I promise. Daniel watched them, something in his chest cracking open. He remembered nights like this with Leo, the nightmares after Sarah died, the terror that she'd leave him too, the desperate need for promises that couldn't always be kept. Oliver, Daniel said gently, you know what I do when I have bad dreams. Oliver peeked at him over Maya's shoulder. What? I think about the best day I ever had. Every detail. What it smelled like, what I ate, what made me laugh. I think about it so hard, the bad dream doesn't have room in my head anymore. What was your best day? Daniel smiled. The day Leo was born. I was so scared I'd drop him or do something wrong. But then the nurse handed him to me, and he grabbed my finger with his tiny hand and just held on, like he knew I was his dad and he trusted me completely. He paused. What about you? What's your best day? Oliver thought hard. The zoo last summer, before Daddy got really mad all the time. We saw elephants and I got cotton candy, and Emma let me hold her hand on the carousel, even though she said I was too little. That sounds like a great day. It was. Oliver's voice was getting sleepy. I want more days like that. You'll have them, Maya said, kissing the top of his head. I promise you'll have so many good days you won't be able to count them all. Oliver's breathing evened out. Within minutes, he was asleep again, dead weight in Maya's arms. I should take him back upstairs, Maya whispered. Let me. Daniel stood gently, lifting Oliver from her lap. The boy didn't wake, just shifted slightly and grabbed a handful of Daniel's shirt. Daniel carried him upstairs, Maya following, and settled him back onto the air mattress next to Emma, who had sprawled into a starfish shape, taking up most of the available space. Leo was awake in his bed, watching them in the darkness. Everything okay, Dad? Yeah, buddy. Oliver had a nightmare. Go back to sleep. Dad. Leo's voice was small. Are they staying, Maya and the kids? Daniel knelt beside his son's bed. For tonight, yes. After that, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I hope they stay. Leo rolled over, pulling his blanket up to his chin. It's nice having people here. The house feels less empty. Daniel's hand found his son's shoulder, squeezed gently. Get some sleep. Back downstairs, Maya had returned to the couch, but she was sitting up, phone in hand, staring at the screen, with an expression Daniel couldn't read. What's wrong? She turned the phone toward him. A text message glowed in the darkness. Derek, I know where you are. This isn't over. Those are my children, my wife. You can't hide from me. Daniel's jaw clenched. When did that come in? Just now, 2:43 a.m. Maya's voice shook. He's not going to stop. He meant what he said. He'll find us wherever we go. Not if we move first. Daniel pulled out his own phone. I'm calling Rick. Now. Daniel, it's almost 3 in the morning. But Daniel was already dialing. The phone rang twice before a groggy voice answered at. This better be good, Hayes. Rick, it's Daniel. I need your help. Rick's voice sharpened immediately, professional mode activating. What's going on? I've got a woman and 2 kids here. She left her abusive husband this morning. He found her tonight, showed up at my house making threats. Just sent another threatening text. Daniel glanced at Maya. She needs a safe place. Legal help, the whole package. Is she in immediate danger? I don't know, maybe. Can I talk to her? Daniel handed the phone to Maya. She took it with shaking hands. Hello. Hi, Maya. My name is Rick Delgado. I run a non-profit called Haven House. We help women and children escaping domestic violence. Daniel's a good friend, and if he's calling me at 3 a.m., that means you really need help. Am I right? Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Okay, I need to ask you some questions, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Can you do that? Yes. Has your husband ever threatened to kill you? Maya closed her eyes. Yes, 3 months ago during a fight. He said if I ever tried to leave, he'd kill me and make it look like an accident. Daniel's hands curled into fists. Has he ever hurt your children physically? Rick continued. He's grabbed them too hard, left bruises, spanked Oliver so hard he had welts. But he's never, not like what he does to me. That's still abuse, Maya, and it's serious. Rick's voice was calm, factual. I'm going to be straight with you. Based on what you're telling me, you and your kids are in danger. Not maybe danger, real danger. We need to move fast. What do I do? First thing tomorrow morning, we file for an emergency protective order. I know a judge who'll fast-track it. We get you and the kids into a safe house somewhere he can't find you. Then we start building a case. Document everything. Photos of injuries, threatening texts, witness statements. We make it impossible for him to get near you again. He's going to fight back. He has money lawyers. So do we, and we're better. Rick's confidence was reassuring. Maya, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've helped hundreds of women get out. You're not alone anymore. Maya's hand pressed to her mouth, muffling a sob. Okay, yes, help me. That's what I needed to hear. Put Daniel back on. Maya handed the phone over, face crumpling as tears came hard and fast. Rick, take her to my office at 9 a.m. Bring the kids. Bring any documentation she has, photos of injuries, anything. We'll start the paperwork. Rick paused. Daniel, you did good calling me. This guy sounds dangerous. He is. Watch your back. Guys like this, when they lose control of their victims, they escalate. He might come after you for helping her. Let him try. I'm serious, man. Be careful. I will. See you at 9. Daniel ended the call and looked at Maya, who had her face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. He sat beside her, not touching, just present. I'm sorry, she gasped. I can't stop crying. Then don't. Let it out. I'm so scared. What if the judge doesn't believe me? What if Derek convinces everyone I'm lying? He's so good at that, making people believe him, making me look crazy. Maya, look at me. Daniel waited until she lifted her head. You have bruises. Your kids have bruises. You have threatening texts. That's not crazy. That's evidence. Evidence can be explained away. He'll say I fell, that the kids got hurt playing, that I'm a hysterical woman making up stories. Then we make sure everyone sees the truth. Rick's good at this, the best. He's going to help you. Maya wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. I don't know how to thank you for all of this. You didn't have to. Stop saying that. I wanted to help. Why, you don't even know me. Daniel was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. When Sarah was dying, she made me promise something. She said, don't let Leo grow up thinking the world is only cruel. Show him there's still good, still people who help. So I'm showing him, and maybe I'm showing you too. Fresh tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. Your wife sounds like she was an amazing person. She was, and she would have liked you, would have opened the door faster than I did. They sat together in the pre-dawn darkness, two broken people holding on to hope that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Outside, the first hints of light touched the horizon. A new day was coming, whether they were ready or not. Daniel, yeah, what happens after 9 a.m., after we meet with Rick? We take it one step at a time, get the protective order, get you and the kids somewhere safe, help you start over. And then what? I have no job, no money, nowhere to go long term. Then we figure it out together. Daniel met her eyes. You're not alone in this, Maya, not anymore. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this stranger who'd opened his door in a rainstorm wouldn't disappear when things got complicated. But trust was a muscle she'd forgotten how to use. I should try to sleep, she said finally. Big day tomorrow. Yeah, you should. But neither of them moved. They sat in the growing light, drinking cold tea, listening to the house wake up around them. Somewhere upstairs, floorboards creaked as Leo got up to use the bathroom. A cardinal started singing outside the window. The refrigerator hummed to life. Ordinary sounds. Normal life continuing despite everything. Maya closed her eyes and let herself imagine it. A life where mornings weren't terrifying, where her kids woke up without fear, where she could drink coffee and watch the sunrise without checking over her shoulder for Derek's truck. It felt impossible. But for the first time in 3 years, it also felt close enough to touch. Maya. Daniel's voice was gentle. She opened her eyes. You're going to be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you will. You and Emma and Oliver. You're going to build a life that's safe and good and nothing like what you left behind. How can you be so sure? Daniel smiled, sad and hopeful at once. Because I did. After Sarah died, I was sure I'd never be okay again, that Leo and I would just survive, not live. But we figured it out, found joy again, learned to laugh without feeling guilty. He paused. You'll do the same. It just takes time. Maya nodded, not quite believing, but wanting to. Thank you, Daniel, for everything. Get some sleep. You're going to need your strength. She lay back down on the couch, pulled the blanket up to her chin. Daniel stood, started toward the stairs, then paused. Maya. Yeah. For what it's worth, I'm glad you knocked on my door, even though it wasn't the date either of us expected. She smiled in the darkness. Me too. He climbed the stairs and Maya was left alone with her thoughts. But for the first time since she'd run, she didn't feel completely alone. She had a plan. She had help. She had Daniel and Rick and tomorrow at 9 a.m. It wasn't much, but it was more than she'd had yesterday. Outside, the sun crept higher. Inside, 3 children slept peacefully. And in the space between night and day, Maya allowed herself something she hadn't felt in years. Morning came too fast and not fast enough. Maya woke to the smell of coffee and pancakes, disoriented, until she remembered where she was. Daniel's living room, the worn couch, sunlight streaming through windows that didn't have bars on them, didn't look out onto Derek's black truck in the driveway. She sat up, every muscle aching like she'd been in a fight. In a way, she had been. 3 years of fights compressed into one desperate escape. Voices drifted from the kitchen, children's laughter. The sound was so foreign, it took her a moment to recognize it as belonging to her own kids. Maya stood, wrapped the blanket around her shoulders like armor, and followed the noise. The kitchen was chaos in the best way. Leo stood at the stove, flipping pancakes with the serious concentration of a surgeon. Emma sat at the table, carefully setting out forks and napkins, her tongue poking out the corner of her mouth. Oliver was on Daniel's shoulders, giggling as Daniel spun in slow circles, the little boy's hands tangled in Daniel's hair. "Higher, higher," Oliver shrieked. "Any higher and you'll hit the ceiling, buddy." Daniel laughed. Emma looked up and saw her mother. "Mommy, Leo's teaching me how to set a table properly. You're supposed to put the fork on the left." "I see that, baby." Maya's throat tightened. When was the last time she'd seen Emma smile like that? Weeks, months. Daniel caught her eye over Oliver's head. "Coffee's fresh. Mugs are in the cabinet by the sink." She poured herself a cup with shaking hands, the normalcy of it all threatening to undo her. This was what mornings were supposed to look like. Not walking on eggshells, not checking Derek's mood before deciding if it was safe to speak. "Mom, can I have chocolate chips in mine?" Oliver called from his perch. "It's not our house, baby. We can't just—" "Already in the batter," Leo announced, sliding a pancake onto a plate. "Can't have pancakes without chocolate chips. That's just wrong." Emma giggled. "That's what I said." Maya met Daniel's eyes again. He gave a slight shrug, a small smile that said, "Let them have this." She nodded, sipped her coffee, and let herself exist in this moment. Let her children be children. Let the world be gentle for 5 minutes before they had to face what came next. They ate together around the scarred kitchen table, syrup dripping, milk spilling. Oliver talking non-stop about the spaceship Legos they'd built last night. Emma asked Leo about school, about soccer, about his favorite video game. Normal questions. Safe questions. Maya picked at her pancakes, appetite gone, but forced herself to eat anyway. She'd need her strength today. Daniel caught her eye. "Rick's office is downtown, 20-minute drive. We should leave by 8:30. Reality crashed back in. The protective order, the legal battle ahead. Derek. "What do I tell the kids?" Maya whispered. "The truth. Age-appropriate version." Daniel refilled her coffee. They already know something's wrong. Pretending otherwise just makes them more scared. After breakfast, while the kids played upstairs, Maya stood in front of the bathroom mirror and barely recognized herself. The bruise on her face had deepened overnight, a grotesque sunset of purple and yellow. Her eyes were hollow. She looked like exactly what she was. A woman who'd been beaten and had run. Good. Let the judge see this. Let everyone see what Derek had done. She heard a soft knock. "Maya, it's almost time." She opened the door to find Daniel holding a small digital camera. "Rick said to document everything. Do you mind?" She minded. She hated it. Hated having evidence of her failure to protect herself photographed like crime scene evidence, but she nodded. Daniel was gentle, professional. He took photos of her face from multiple angles, then of the fingerprint bruises on her upper arms. She'd forgotten about the ones Derek had left when he'd grabbed her 3 days ago during an argument about grocery money. "Oliver and Emma," Daniel said quietly. "Rick needs photos of their injuries too." "I know," Maya's voice was hollow. "I'll ask them." Upstairs, she found Emma reading to Oliver on the air mattress. The little boy curled against his sister. They looked up when she entered. "Babies, I need to talk to you about something important." 2 sets of dark eyes watched her with wariness, learned too young. Maya sat on the floor beside them. "You know how Daddy hurt Mommy sometimes, and how that was wrong." Emma nodded slowly. Oliver's thumb found his mouth, a habit he'd outgrown last year, but had returned to in the past month. Well, there are people whose job is to make sure Daddy can't hurt us anymore. We're going to meet one of those people today, a nice man named Rick. But first, I need to take some pictures of where Daddy hurt you, just so the people who help us can see. Like evidence, Emma asked. Like on TV. Exactly like that. Will it make Daddy go away? Maya's heart cracked. I'm going to do everything I can to keep you safe, both of you. I promise. Oliver pulled his thumb from his mouth. I don't want pictures. I know, baby, but it's important. Will it hurt? No, sweetheart, just pictures. It'll be fast. In the end, Emma let Maya photograph the bruises on her shins, where Derek had kicked her 2 weeks ago for spilling juice. Oliver cried through the documentation of the handprint on his arm, the one Leo had noticed, the one that wouldn't fade. Maya held him afterward, rocking him like she had when he was a baby, humming the lullaby that had always calmed him. Daniel stood in the doorway, expression carefully neutral, but his hands were clenched into fists. By 8:30, they were in Daniel's truck, kids buckled in the back. Maya in front, clutching a folder with printed text messages, photos, a timeline she'd written at 3 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come. Evidence of 3 years of hell compressed into 20 pages. The drive downtown was quiet. Emma stared out the window. Oliver held his elephant. Leo kept up a steady stream of commentary about buildings and cars, filling the silence with normalcy. Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced down. Derek. Talk to my lawyer. You're not taking my kids. See you in court. Her hands started shaking. Daniel noticed, reached over, squeezed her hand briefly before returning his to the wheel. He can't take them, Maya whispered. He can't. He won't. Rick won't let that happen. But Maya had learned the hard way that what should happen and what actually happened were often very different things. Rick's office was in a converted brownstone near the courthouse, the kind of building that had seen better decades, but refused to give up. A hand-painted sign read, Haven House Legal Services, in cheerful letters that seemed at odds with the grim work done inside. Daniel herded everyone through the front door, into a waiting room that looked more like someone's living room. Mismatched furniture, children's toys, and a corner magazines that weren't 6 months old. A young woman at the reception desk looked up and smiled. You must be Maya. Rick's expecting you. He's just finishing up a call. Maya nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. And you must be Emma and Oliver. The receptionist, her name tag read Jennifer, came around the desk with a basket. We've got coloring books and crayons. You guys like to color? Oliver's eyes lit up despite everything. I'm really good at coloring. I bet you are. Why don't you show me? She led the kids to a small table, got them set up with supplies, gave them the space to just be kids for a few minutes. Maya watched, grateful for the kindness of strangers. A door opened and a man emerged. Tall, late 40s, with kind eyes and graying hair, pulled back in a ponytail. He wore jeans and a button-down, looking more like a college professor than a lawyer. Maya, his voice was warm. I'm Rick Delgado. Come on back. Daniel started to follow, but Rick shook his head. Just Maya for now. We'll bring you in after. Maya's panic must have shown on her face because Rick added gently, This is your story. You tell it first your way without anyone else in the room. Then we'll bring Daniel in to add his witness statement. Okay. She nodded and followed him down a hallway lined with children's artwork into an office that was organized chaos. Files everywhere, law books stacked on every surface, but also photos of smiling families, thank you cards pinned to a bulletin board, evidence that this work had happy endings sometimes. Rick gestured to a chair. First things first, how are you doing physically, emotionally, all of it? The question was so unexpected, so genuinely concerned, that Maya's carefully constructed composure crumbled. I'm terrified. He texted this morning saying he talked to his lawyer, that he's going to take my kids. He's trying to scare you. That's what abusers do when they lose control. Rick pulled out a legal pad. But here's what's actually going to happen. We're going to file for an emergency protective order today. The judge will hear your petition this afternoon. You'll tell your story, show your evidence, and unless that judge is an idiot, which Judge Martinez isn't, you'll walk out with an order that keeps Derek away from you and the kids. What if Derek fights it? He will fight it. They always do. But fighting it and winning are different things. Rick leaned forward. Maya, I've been doing this 15 years. I know what strong cases look like. Yours is strong. You have documented injuries, threatening texts, a witness in Daniel, and most importantly, you have the truth. Derek's a good liar. I'm a better lawyer. Something in his confidence steadied her. What do you need from me? Everything. Start from the beginning. When did the abuse start? Maya took a breath and began to talk. She told him about the courtship, the whirlwind romance, the proposal after 3 months. She told him about the first time Derek had yelled 6 months into the marriage over something small she couldn't even remember now. The way he'd apologized, brought flowers, promised it was just stress from work. She told him about Emma's birth and how Derek had resented the attention she gave the baby, the escalating criticism, the names he called her, stupid, worthless, lazy, ungrateful. She told him about the first time he'd pushed her when Emma was 8 months old, how she'd fallen and bruised her hip, how he'd blamed her for not watching where she was going. She told him about Oliver's birth and how things got worse. The yelling became daily, the pushing became hitting, slaps across the face, grabbing her arm hard enough to bruise, throwing things that sometimes hit her and sometimes missed. She told him about the first time he'd hurt Emma, spanked her so hard for coloring on the wall that she couldn't sit down. About the time he'd grabbed Oliver's arm and yanked him so violently the boy had cried for an hour. She told him about trying to leave twice before, once to her mother's, but her mother was too sick to handle the stress, and Derek had shown up charming and apologetic and convinced her to come home. Once to a friend's house, but Derek had found her within 6 hours, and the friend had asked her to leave because she didn't want the drama. She told him about yesterday morning, the fight about money, about her wanting to get a job, about Derek's explosion, the hit that left the bruise, the words that finally gave her the courage to run. You're mine. You'll never leave. I'll take those kids, and you'll never see them again. Rick wrote it all down, occasionally asking clarifying questions, his expression never showing shock or judgment. Just quiet professionalism and simmering anger directed at a man he'd never met. When she finished, her throat was raw and tears streamed down her face. Rick handed her tissues without comment. You did good, he said quietly. I know that wasn't easy. What happens now? Now I draft the petition. You'll need to sign it, swear it's true. Then we file it with the court. Judge Martinez has a slot at 2 p.m. We'll present your case, show the evidence, and get that order. Will Derek be there? No, this is ex parte, meaning we don't have to notify him first, because you're in immediate danger. He'll be served with the order after it's granted. Then he'll have the right to challenge it at a full hearing in 2 weeks. He'll be so angry. Let him be angry. He'll be angry from a distance legally required to stay away from you. Rick's voice hardened. And if he violates that order, he goes to jail. No second chances. You don't know Derek. Rules don't apply to him. They do in my courtroom. Rick stood. Let me get Daniel's statement, then we'll get this filed. You good to wait here? Maya nodded, exhausted. Rick left and returned minutes later with Daniel, who took one look at Maya's tear-stained face and moved to her side immediately. You okay? I will be. Daniel gave his statement quickly, clinically. What he'd observed when Maya arrived, the bruises the children's fear, Derek showing up and making threats. Rick wrote it all down, nodded, and stood. Okay, I'm going to draft this petition. Should take about an hour. Jennifer will get you some lunch. Courts at 2. We'll be ready. The next 2 hours passed in a blur. Maya couldn't eat the sandwich Jennifer brought. The kids colored and played blissfully, unaware of what was happening. Leo kept them entertained with stories and games. Daniel sat beside Maya, a steady presence, Not talking, just being there. At 1:30, Rick emerged with a thick stack of papers. Time to go. The courthouse was imposing, all marble and echoing footsteps and security checkpoints. Maya's hands shook as they went through the metal detector. Emma held her hand tightly. Oliver clung to Daniel. They waited on a hard bench outside Judge Martinez's courtroom. Other people waited too, their faces telling stories of desperation and hope. A young woman with a black eye, an older man who looked like he hadn't slept in days, a mother with 3 small children, all of them running from something, all of them hoping the law would protect them. Brooks versus Brooks, a bailiff called. Maya's legs barely held her as she stood. Rick put a steadying hand on her elbow. "You've got this, just tell the truth." They entered the courtroom. Judge Martinez was a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She reviewed the petition, looked at the photos, read the text messages. Her expression darkened with each page. "Ms. Brooks," she said, voice carrying authority that filled the room. "Please approach." Maya walked forward on shaking legs. "Tell me about yesterday morning." Maya's voice was barely above a whisper at first, but Judge Martinez leaned forward, listening intently, and somehow that gave Maya strength. She told the story again, simpler this time, focusing on the facts, the fight, the hit, the threat, the decision to run. "And where are you staying now?" "With a friend, Daniel Hayes. He's here." Judge Martinez's eyes found Daniel in the gallery. "Mr. Hayes, you witnessed the petitioner's injuries." Daniel stood. "Yes, Your Honor, the bruises on her face and arms, the fear in her children. And I witnessed the respondent showing up at my home making threats." "What kind of threats?" "That he'd take the children, that this wasn't over. He grabbed my shirt and I had to physically remove him from my property." The judge made a note. "Ms. Brooks, what are you asking this court to do?" Maya's voice was stronger now. "Keep him away from us. Me and my children. Give me time to figure out how to keep them safe. Please." Judge Martinez looked at the photos again, at the bruises, at the fear in Emma's and Oliver's faces captured in those images. She looked at the text messages, at Derek's words, dripping with threat and ownership. "I've seen enough." She signed the order with swift, decisive strokes. "Emergency protective order granted. The respondent is to have no contact with the petitioner or the minor children. No calls, texts, emails, or third-party contact. He is to stay at least 500 feet away at all times. This order is effective immediately and remains in effect until the full hearing in 2 weeks." She looked at Maya. "Ms. Brooks, keep this order with you at all times. If he violates it, you call the police immediately. Understand?" "Yes, Your Honor. Thank you." "You're welcome. Stay safe." Outside the courtroom, Maya's legs gave out. Daniel caught her, held her up, while Rick got the official copies of the order, stamped and sealed. "We did it," Rick said, handing her the papers. "He can't touch you now." Maya stared at the document, at the judge's signature, making it real and legal and enforceable. For the first time in 3 years, she had something that said Derek couldn't hurt her, that said the law was on her side. She started to cry, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was relief and exhaustion, and the beginning of something that might eventually feel like freedom. Emma tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Maya knelt down, pulled both her children close. "Because we're safe now, baby. We're finally safe." Oliver looked up at her with his dark, serious eyes. "Really, really." The walk back to Daniel's truck felt different, lighter somehow, even though Maya knew the battle wasn't over. Derek would fight back. He'd challenge the order. He'd make things difficult. But for today, for this moment, she had won. She had protection. She had hope. They were almost to the parking garage when Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Maya Brooks. An unfamiliar woman's voice. "Yes. This is Officer Sarah Chen with the county police. I'm calling about a report filed by Derek Brooks. He's claiming you kidnapped your children. Maya's blood went cold. What? He says you took the kids yesterday without permission, and he doesn't know where they are, says he's worried for their safety. The officer's voice was professional, but not unkind. Can you tell me where you are right now? Rick grabbed the phone from Maya's hand. Officer Chen, this is Rick Delgado, Ms. Brooks' attorney. My client just left the courthouse where Judge Martinez granted her an emergency protective order against Mr. Brooks due to domestic violence. The children are with their mother exactly where they should be, and Mr. Brooks knows exactly where they are because he showed up at the home where they're staying last night making threats. There was a pause. Is there a case number for that protective order? Rick rattled it off. Another pause, longer this time, as Officer Chen presumably looked it up. I see it here. Okay, I'll note in the report that the children are safe with their mother under court order. Mr. Brooks will be informed of the protective order. Thank you, officer. Rick ended the call and handed the phone back to Maya. He's already playing games, trying to use the police to harass you. It's working. Maya's hands were shaking again. What if they'd believed him? What if they'd taken the kids? They didn't. They won't. You have a court order. The law is on your side. Rick's voice was firm. This is what I warned you about. He's going to escalate. Try every trick he can think of, but we're ready for him. Daniel's hand found Maya's shoulder. Come on, let's get the kids home. Home. The word felt strange applied to Daniel's small rental house with the sagging couch and creaky floors, but it also felt right in a way Maya's actual home never had. The drive back was quiet. Emma fell asleep head against the window. Oliver hummed tunelessly to himself. Leo played a game on his phone occasionally, showing Oliver something that made the little boy giggle. Daniel's hand rested on the center console, and after a moment, Maya reached over and took it. He squeezed gently, didn't let go, and they drove like that. Through the fading afternoon light, two people who'd met 24 hours ago holding on to each other like lifelines. Because maybe that's what they were. The house felt different when they returned, like crossing a threshold into something new. Maya stood in Daniel's living room holding the protective order, the official seal catching the late afternoon light, and for the first time in 72 hours, she allowed herself to breathe without counting the seconds, until Derek appeared. Emma and Oliver had gone straight upstairs with Leo, their voices carrying down as they debated whether to build a castle or a spaceship. Normal kid arguments. Safe arguments. Daniel emerged from the kitchen with 2 cups of coffee, handed one to Maya. Rick called while you were getting the kids settled. He's got a spot for you at one of the safe houses. You can move in tomorrow. Tomorrow. The word felt too soon and not soon enough. Maya wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Where is it? He didn't say. Security thing. They don't tell anyone the location until you're actually going there. Daniel sat on the arm of the couch. It's a good place, though. Rick says they've got counselors' job placement programs, childcare, while you look for work. Sounds too good to be true. It's real. I've seen it. Helped Rick move furniture there last year. Daniel's voice was gentle. You'll have your own room space for the kids. It's safe, Maya. No one knows where it is except the people who run it. Maya nodded, trying to feel relieved instead of terrified. A safe house meant leaving here, leaving Daniel and Leo and this small piece of stability they'd found. She'd been here less than 2 days, but it already felt more like home than anywhere she'd lived with Derek. You don't have to go if you're not ready, Daniel said, reading her expression. You can stay here as long as you need. You've done too much already. I haven't done enough. He set down his coffee. Maya, you and the kids can stay here. I mean it. I've got the space. Leo loves having them around. And honestly, his voice dropped. This house has been too quiet for too long. Having people in it again, it feels right. Maya's throat tightened. Daniel, I can't just move in. That's not fair to you or Leo. We're strangers who crashed your life. You're not strangers anymore. He said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. And you didn't crash anything. You knocked on the door. I opened it. That was my choice. But Derek, he's not going to stop. He'll keep finding ways to make trouble, keep showing up, calling the police, making your life hell by association. Let him try. Daniel's jaw set in a way that reminded Maya he'd been a soldier once. I've dealt with worse than Derek Brooks. You don't know him. I know enough. Daniel leaned forward. He's a bully who's used to getting his way through intimidation. Well, I don't intimidate easy, and I'm not letting you and those kids get shuffled off to some safe house like you're in witness protection when there's a perfectly good spare room upstairs. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to maintain some dignity, some sense that she wasn't a charity case. But the truth was, she was tired, bone tired, soul tired. And the thought of staying here in this house that smelled like coffee and old wood, where her kids laughed instead of cried, where someone actually gave a damn if she was okay, that thought made something in her chest crack open. Okay, she whispered. Daniel's eyebrows rose. Yeah, but temporary. Just until I get on my feet, find a job, save enough for a deposit on an apartment. However long you need. I'll pay rent and groceries, my share of utilities. Maya, I mean it, Daniel, I'm not a freeloader. I need to contribute something or I'll lose my mind. He studied her for a moment, then nodded. Okay, we'll figure out something fair, but first you need to actually have a job before we talk about rent. Rick mentioned job placement programs. Yeah, and I might have something too. My boss, Marcus, his wife, Lisa, runs an office downtown. Administrative stuff. She's always looking for good people. Daniel pulled out his phone. Let me text her, see if she's hiring. Maya watched him type this man who'd known her for 48 hours and was rearranging his life like it was nothing. Like helping people was just what you did. Why are you doing this? The question came out before she could stop it. Really, I need to understand. Daniel looked up from his phone. You want the complicated answer or the simple one? Both. He set the phone down, took a moment to gather his thoughts. Simple answer, because I can, because you need help, and I'm able to give it. That should be enough. And the complicated answer? The complicated answer is that when Sarah died, I was drowning, completely underwater, and people showed up. My buddy Marcus, he came over every day for 2 weeks. Didn't say much, just sat with me while Leo was at school. Made sure I ate. Made sure I didn't completely fall apart. Daniel's voice roughened. Rick helped me navigate Sarah's medical bills, set up a payment plan so I wouldn't lose the house. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, she picked Leo up from school every day for a month when I couldn't get myself together enough to leave the house. He paused, collecting himself. I didn't ask for any of it, didn't think I deserved it, but they showed up anyway, and eventually I learned to accept help without feeling like I was failing. He met Maya's eyes. You're not failing by being here, you're surviving, and sometimes survival means letting people help you. Maya's vision blurred with tears. I don't know how to do that. Accept help. Derek always said asking for help made me weak. Derek was wrong about a lot of things. Daniel's voice was firm. Asking for help is brave. Running was brave. You're one of the strongest people I've met, Maya. You just don't know it yet. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. Lisa says to bring you by tomorrow morning. She's got an opening for a receptionist part-time to start, but could go full-time if it works out. Just like that. Just like that. Lisa's good people. She'll give you a fair shot. Maya pressed her hands to her face, overwhelmed. Everything was happening so fast. 2 days ago, she'd been trapped. Now she had a protective order, a place to stay, a potential job. It felt surreal, like she'd wake up and find herself back in Derek's house. This all just a desperate dream. Hey, Daniel's hand found her shoulder. You're okay. This is real. You're safe. I keep waiting for it to fall apart. It won't. We won't let it. From upstairs came a crash, followed by Leo's voice. It's fine. Nobody's bleeding. Daniel sighed. I should check on that. I'll come with you. They climbed the stairs together to find Leo's room, transformed into what appeared to be a spaceship castle hybrid. Legos everywhere, blankets draped over furniture, Oliver wearing a colander on his head as a helmet. "We're space knights," Emma announced seriously. "We protect the galaxy from bad guys." "Important work," Daniel said, keeping his expression grave. "Carry on, space knights." Oliver ran over and grabbed Maya's hand. "Mommy, you can be the queen. The queen lives in the castle part and tells us where the bad guys are." Maya let herself be pulled into the game, sat on Leo's bed, designated as the throne, and watched her children play. Really play. Not the quiet, careful play they did at home when Derek might hear and yell at them for being too loud. This was full-volume, chaotic, joyful play. Emma's laugh rang out when Leo made silly voices for the alien invaders. Oliver crashed his Lego spaceship into the castle wall and shouted, "Boom!" without flinching, without checking to see if an adult was going to punish him for the noise. Daniel stood in the doorway, watching, and when Maya caught his eye, he smiled. Not a sad smile or a pitying smile, just a genuine, warm smile that said, "This is good." Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, stomach clenching automatically, but it was just Rick. "Served Derek with the protective order an hour ago. He did not take it well. Lots of yelling, lots of threats about what his lawyer is going to do. Standard stuff. Don't be surprised if he tries to contact you through third parties. Friends, family, social media. Don't respond to anything. Forward it all to me." Maya showed the message to Daniel. He frowned. "You might want to change your number. Make it harder for him to harass you." "But then how will people reach me?" Job interviews, the kids' school. "You get a new number, give it to the people who need it. Let the old number go to voicemail, forward everything to Rick as evidence." Daniel pulled up his carrier's website on his phone. "I can add you to my plan, get you a new phone tonight. Clean slate." "Daniel, that's expensive. Consider it back rent for the next few months. Please, let me do this." Maya hesitated, then nodded. Every tie to Derek cut felt like freedom. A new number meant he couldn't call and leave threatening voicemails, couldn't text at 3 a.m. to terrorize her, couldn't use her phone as a weapon. They left the kids playing under Leo's supervision and drove to the phone store. The young clerk didn't ask questions when Daniel requested a new number and new phone for Maya. 30 minutes later, she had a device Derek had never touched, a number he didn't know, and a small piece of control over her own life. In the parking lot, she programmed in the few numbers she needed. Rick, Daniel, Emma's school, the National Domestic Violence Hotline Rick had given her. "Feels weird," she said. "Having a phone he doesn't have access to." Weird good or weird bad? Good, definitely good. She tested it, sent Daniel a message. "Hi, this is my new number." His phone pinged. He smiled and saved the contact. "Got it. Welcome to your new life." They picked up groceries on the way home, Maya insisting on paying for her share despite Daniel's protests. She needed to contribute something tangible. In the store, she found herself actually looking at what she wanted instead of what Derek would approve of. She bought coffee she liked, snacks for the kids, ingredients for a recipe her mother used to make. Small choices, but they felt revolutionary. Dinner that night was louder than anything Daniel's house had heard in years. 5 people around the table, passing dishes, talking over each other, Oliver spilling his milk, and no one yelling about it. Emma helped Leo load the dishwasher, both of them debating the correct way to arrange plates. Maya made her mother's apple crisp for dessert and watched Daniel's face light up at the first bite. "This is incredible," he said through a mouthful of apples and cinnamon. "My mom's recipe, only thing she taught me to make before she got sick." "You should call her, let her know you're okay." Maya's smile faded. "She doesn't do well with stress. When I told her about Derek hitting me the first time she had a panic attack, ended up in the hospital. I can't put that on her again." "She's your mother. She'd want to know you're safe." "Maybe, when things settle down." Maya pushed dessert around her plate. Right now, I just need to focus on the kids, on getting stable. After dinner, the kids insisted on a movie. They piled onto the couch, Emma and Oliver sandwiched between Leo and Daniel. Maya curled in the armchair with a blanket. Some animated film about talking animals that Oliver had seen 12 times but never got tired of. Halfway through, Emma's head drooped onto Leo's shoulder. Oliver was already asleep, sprawled across Daniel's lap. Leo looked at his dad, eyebrows raised in question. "Leave them," Daniel mouthed. "They're fine." So they watched the rest of the movie in comfortable quiet. Two exhausted kids sleeping peacefully, three adults pretending to pay attention to the screen while really just existing in the moment. When the credits rolled, Maya carefully extracted. Emma carried her upstairs to the air mattress. Daniel followed with Oliver, both kids so deeply asleep they didn't stir. Maya tucked them in, kissed their foreheads, and stood watching them breathe. "They look different when they sleep here," she whispered, more relaxed. "Because they are. No threat, no walking on eggshells." Daniel's voice was quiet. "They'll get used to it, to feeling safe." "I hope so." They left the door cracked and headed back downstairs. Leo had gone to his own room, mumbling about homework he'd been ignoring. The house settled into nighttime quiet, just the hum of the refrigerator and distant traffic. Maya sat on the porch steps, wrapped in a blanket, watching moths circle the streetlight. Daniel joined her, two coffee mugs in hand. "Decaf," he said, "unless you want to be up all night. Decaf's perfect." She took the mug, let the warmth seep into her hands. "Thank you, for today, for all of it. You keep thanking me. Because I keep meaning it." Maya stared into her coffee. "I know I said it before, but I need you to understand. You changed everything. If I hadn't come here, if you'd turned me away, I don't know where we'd be right now. You would have figured it out. Called Rick, found a shelter, done what you had to do. Maybe, but it would have been so much harder, lonelier." She looked at him. "You made me feel like I wasn't alone, like someone actually cared what happened to us." Daniel was quiet for a moment. When Sarah was dying, the worst part wasn't the pain or the fear. It was feeling invisible. People would see us at the grocery store and literally cross to the other aisle to avoid talking to us, like cancer was contagious or sadness was something they might catch. His voice was rough with old hurt. "I swore if I ever saw someone drowning like that, I'd throw them a rope, not walk away and pretend I didn't notice. I'm glad you kept that promise." They sat in silence, drinking coffee, watching the quiet street. A car passed. A dog barked somewhere. Normal suburban night sounds that had always made Maya anxious, always signaled Derek would be home soon, but here they just sounded like life happening. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said. "Anything. Do you ever date? I mean, before me showing up and ruining what was supposed to be our blind date. Did you ever actually try?" Daniel laughed softly. "Once or twice. Marcus has been trying to set me up for years. Most of them were nice enough, but there was never a spark, you know, and Leo always hated when I went out. He'd get clingy, worried I wouldn't come back." "That must be hard, being a single parent." "It has moments." Daniel stretched his legs out. "But mostly it's good. Me and Leo, we're a team. We figured out how to make it work. He's a great kid." "He is. Sarah would be proud of him." Daniel's voice softened. "She made me promise to raise him to be kind, to see people who needed help and actually help them. I think she'd approve of you being here." Maya's throat tightened. "You think—" "I know, she had this thing about instinct. She'd say, 'Daniel, your gut is smarter than your brain. Trust it.' My gut said, 'Open the door,' when you showed up, said, 'Let you stay,' said, 'Help you fight back.'" He met her eyes. "My gut's usually right about people. Mine's been wrong a lot. Because you were taught not to trust it. Derek spent years telling you your instincts were wrong, that you were overreacting, being dramatic. He trained you to doubt yourself. How do I learn to trust myself again? One decision at a time. Start small. What do you want for breakfast tomorrow? Don't think about what anyone else wants. Just you. What sounds good? Maya thought about it. Pancakes with blueberries instead of chocolate chips. Then that's what we'll make. See, first decision made. You'll get better at it. She smiled despite herself. It's stupid that choosing pancakes feels revolutionary. It's not stupid. It's reclaiming yourself piece by piece. A notification lit up Maya's old phone, the one she'd kept to forward messages to Rick. She glanced at it and her stomach dropped. Derek, you think a piece of paper is going to stop me? You're mine, Maya. Always have been, always will be. This isn't over. Her hands started shaking. Daniel saw the message and his expression hardened. Forward it to Rick. Block the number. He'll just use a different number. Then we'll block that one too, and the next one. And eventually he'll realize he's wasting his time. Daniel's voice was firm. Don't respond, don't engage. That's what he wants. He wants to know he still has power over you. Maya forwarded the message to Rick, then blocked Derek's number with shaking fingers. It felt good. Small act of defiance, but it counted. You're doing great, Daniel said quietly. I don't feel like I'm doing great. I feel like I'm barely holding it together. That's how great looks sometimes. Messy and scared, but still moving forward. They finished their coffee in silence. The night deepened around them, temperature dropping. Maya should go inside, try to sleep, but she wasn't ready to leave this moment. This quiet porch with Daniel beside her, this space where she felt safe enough to breathe. Daniel, yeah, I'm glad it was you. Who opened the door? I'm glad it wasn't someone else. He looked at her, something in his expression shifting. Me too, Maya, me too. And there, in the space between words, something fragile and new began to take root. Not romance, not yet, but connection, understanding, the beginning of trust. Maya leaned her head on his shoulder, testing the gesture, ready to pull back if it was too much. But Daniel didn't move away. He just sat there solid and warm and steady and let her rest. Above them, stars fought through light pollution to be seen. Inside, their children slept peacefully. And for the first time in 3 years, Maya allowed herself to imagine a future that didn't include fear. It was terrifying and hopeful in equal measure. But mostly, it was hers. They stayed on the porch until the cold drove them inside Maya's head, still resting on Daniel's shoulder, neither wanting to break the spell of quiet peace. When they finally stood, Daniel's hand found the small of her back. As he guided her through the door, a gentle touch that felt both protective and natural. Inside the house was dark except for the kitchen light Daniel always left on for Leo. They stood in the hallway between the living room and stairs, suddenly awkward now that the evening had to end. I should sleep, Maya said, though she wasn't tired. She was wired, her mind racing through everything that had happened, everything that still had to happen. Yeah, big day tomorrow, job interview. Daniel shoved his hands in his pockets. Lisa's great. Just be yourself and you'll be fine. What if myself isn't good enough? Then Lisa's an idiot, which she's not. He smiled. Get some rest, Maya. It's all going to work out. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that the pieces of her shattered life would somehow fit back together into something whole. But belief was hard when you'd spent 3 years learning that hope was dangerous. Still, she nodded and headed for the couch. Daniel climbed the stairs to check on the kids one more time before bed, a ritual Maya had noticed he performed every night. When he came back down, he paused at the bottom step. They're all out cold, Oliver's snoring. He does that when he feels safe, Maya said quietly. He didn't snore at all the last few months at home, too tense even in sleep. Daniel's expression darkened, but he said nothing, just nodded goodnight and disappeared upstairs, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts and the protective order folded in her purse. Sleep, when it came, was fitful. She dreamed of courtrooms and Derek's face, of running down endless hallways with Emma and Oliver's hands slipping from her grip. She woke at dawn, gasping, heart pounding, until she remembered where she was. Daniel's house, safe, The smell of coffee drew her to the kitchen, where Daniel stood at the counter, already dressed for work, dark circles under his eyes, suggesting his night hadn't been much better than hers. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked. "Old habit. Army schedule never really left me. Up at 5 whether I need to be or not." He poured her a mug without asking. "Interviews at 10. I told Marcus I'm taking the morning off to drive you." "You don't have to do that, Maya." He gave her a look. "Stop, I want to." She accepted the coffee and the help, learning slowly to let people care without feeling like she owed them something she couldn't repay. By 9:30, they were back in Daniel's truck, heading downtown. Maya had changed 3 times, settling finally on a simple blouse and slacks she'd grabbed during her escape. Emma and Oliver were at the house with Leo, who'd promised to keep them entertained until they got back. "What if she asks about my work history?" Maya's hands twisted in her lap. "I haven't worked in 6 years, not since Emma was born. Derek said I didn't need to, that my job was taking care of the house and kids." "Then you tell her the truth, that you took time to raise your children and now you're ready to work again." Daniel glanced over. "Lisa's not going to judge you. She knows your situation. Marcus told her you were leaving a bad marriage." "Great, so I'm the charity case. You're a woman who needs a fresh start. That's not charity. That's giving someone a fair shot who deserves one." The office was in a modern building downtown, all glass and steel. Lisa Chen met them in the lobby, a petite woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Maya, so good to meet you. Marcus has told me wonderful things." She led them to a conference room. "Daniel, you can wait here or grab coffee next door. This won't take long." Daniel squeezed Maya's hand once and left. Lisa sat across from her, no desk between them, just 2 chairs and a sense that this was a conversation, not an interrogation. "So Marcus says you're looking for work. Tell me about yourself." Maya took a breath and told an edited version of her story. Married young, stayed home with kids, recently separated, needed to support her family. She didn't mention Derek's fists or the bruises still fading on her arms, but something in Lisa's eyes said she understood anyway. "The position is receptionist to start. Answering phones, scheduling appointments, basic office work. 20 hours a week, initially possibility of full-time if it's a good fit." Lisa leaned forward. "I'm going to be honest with you, Maya. I've been where you are. Different details, same story. My ex was a piece of work too." Maya's eyes widened. "You were 10 years ago, got out with my daughter and $20 to my name. Someone gave me a chance when I desperately needed one, and I've been paying it forward ever since." Lisa's smile was warm. "So here's what I'm offering. The job is yours if you want it. 15 an hour to start, goes up after 3 months if things work out. Flexible schedule so you can work around your kids' school. And most importantly, a boss who gets it when you need a mental health day or have to deal with court stuff." Maya's throat closed. "Just like that. Just like that. I believe in second chances. Hell, I believe in third and fourth chances." Lisa stood and extended her hand. "So what do you say? You want to start Monday?" Maya stood on shaking legs and shook Lisa's hand. "Yes. Thank you. I won't let you down." "I know you won't." They found Daniel in the lobby, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when they approached and must have read the answer on Maya's face because his whole expression brightened. "You got it." "I got it." Maya felt like she might cry or laugh or both. "I start Monday." Daniel pulled her into a hug right there in the lobby, and Maya let herself sink into it, let herself feel the joy without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Behind them, Lisa smiled and headed back to her office. In the truck, Maya couldn't stop smiling. "I have a job, an actual job, money, independence. You have a future." Daniel started the engine, and it's going to be a good one. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of establishing new routines. Maya started work nervous the first day, but finding her rhythm quickly. Answering phones, greeting clients, managing Lisa's calendar. Simple tasks that felt monumental because they were hers, money she earned, skills she was rebuilding. Emma and Oliver started at a new school closer to Daniel's house, integrated into Leo's world with surprising ease. Emma made friends with a girl in her class who invited her to a birthday party. Oliver joined Leo's after-school art program and came home covered in paint and grinning. Daniel adjusted his work schedule to help with drop-offs and pickups. He never made it seem like a burden, never sighed about the extra trips or the kids' noise filling his previously quiet house. If anything, he seemed happier. The shadows in his eyes lifted a little more each day. Maya found herself watching him sometimes. The way he made silly voices reading bedtime stories to Oliver. How he taught Emma to change a tire one Saturday afternoon because every person should know how to be self-sufficient. The patience he had with Leo's moodiness when homework got hard. He was a good man, the kind she hadn't known existed outside of movies. And that terrified her more than Derek ever had, because wanting something meant it could be taken away. The full hearing for the protective order was scheduled for a Thursday morning. Rick prepared Maya extensively, running through likely questions Derek's lawyer would ask, coaching her on staying calm, sticking to facts, not letting Derek's presence rattle her. "He's going to try to get under your skin," Rick warned the night before. "That's what abusers do. They look for the weak spots, but you're stronger than he thinks. Just remember that." Daniel offered to come to the hearing, but Rick advised against it. "Derek's lawyer will try to paint him as your boyfriend, claim you left your marriage for another man. Better if he's not there." So Maya went with just Rick, her stomach churning as they entered the courthouse. And there in the hallway outside the courtroom was Derek. He looked the same, handsome in his suit, clean-shaven, every inch the successful businessman. But when his eyes found Maya's, the mask slipped. She saw the rage underneath the fury at losing control. "Maya." His voice was smooth, concerned, loud enough for people around them to hear. "Please, can we talk, work this out? The kids need their father." Rick stepped between them. "Mr. Brooks, you're violating the protective order by approaching my client. Step back or I'll call the bailiff." Derek's lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in her 50s, put a hand on his arm. "Derek, not here." But Derek's eyes stayed locked on Maya. "You're making a mistake, destroying our family over nothing. I love you. I love our kids." Maya's hand shook, but she kept her voice steady. "You don't love me. You never did. You loved controlling me." "See?" Derek's voice rose. "This is what I mean. She's being dramatic, emotional. She needs help, not a restraining order." "Mr. Brooks." The bailiff appeared. "Step away from the petitioner, now." Derek stepped back, hands raised in surrender, playing the victim perfectly. But Maya saw the calculation in his eyes. This was theater for the judge. Inside the courtroom, they sat on opposite sides. Derek with his expensive lawyer, Maya with Rick and 3 years of documented abuse. Judge Martinez took the bench, expression unreadable. "This is a hearing on the emergency protective order granted 2 weeks ago. Mr. Brooks, you're challenging this order. Let's hear why." Derek's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client is a devoted father and husband who's being denied access to his children based on exaggerated claims from an emotionally unstable wife. The alleged abuse is nothing more than normal marital disagreements blown out of proportion." Rick stood. "Your Honor, I have photographs of injuries, threatening text messages, witness testimony, and a pattern of escalating violence spanning 3 years. This isn't exaggeration. It's documented fact." The hearing lasted 90 minutes. Derek's lawyer claimed Maya's bruises were from a fall, that the children's injuries were from rough play, that Derek's texts were taken out of context by a woman having a mental breakdown. Rick systematically destroyed every argument with evidence. Photos time-stamped to match Maya's account. Medical records from when Emma had welts from Derek's discipline. Testimony from Daniel about Derek's threats. Maya took the stand and told her story again. Calmer this time, clearer. She didn't cry, didn't break down, just stated facts and let them speak for themselves. Derek's lawyer tried to rattle her. Isn't it true you were seeing Mr. Hayes before you left your husband? No, I met Daniel the night I left. It was supposed to be a blind date arranged weeks earlier. How convenient. A new man waiting in the wings. There was no new man. There was a safe place when I had nowhere else to go. Did you provoke your husband during arguments? I existed. That was provocation enough for him. The lawyer's eyes narrowed. You're claiming you did nothing wrong. I'm claiming I didn't deserve to be hit. I didn't deserve to have my children threatened. I didn't deserve to live in fear. Maya's voice was steady, and neither do Emma and Oliver. When it was Derek's turn, he played the grieving husband beautifully, claimed he'd never meant to hurt anyone, that he'd been under stress from work, that he loved his family and just wanted them back. But under Rick's cross-examination, cracks appeared. Derek couldn't explain the pattern of injuries, couldn't justify threatening to take the children, got angry when questioned too closely, and let his mask slip just enough for the judge to see the real man underneath. Judge Martinez called a recess, returned 20 minutes later with her decision. I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony. Mr. Brooks, your account simply doesn't match the documented facts. The photographs alone tell a story of systematic abuse. She looked at him over her glasses. The protective order stands. You are to have no contact with Ms. Brooks or the minor children. Supervised visitation will be arranged through the court if you choose to pursue it, but that's a separate proceeding. Derek's face went red. This is insane. Those are my children. Mr. Brooks, control yourself or I'll hold you in contempt. Judge Martinez's voice was ice. This hearing is concluded. Outside the courtroom, Maya's legs gave out. Rick caught her, held her steady. You did it. It's over. He's going to appeal. Fight it. Let him. We'll win again. Rick's smile was fierce. You beat him, Maya. He doesn't get to hurt you anymore. Maya called Daniel from the courthouse steps, voice shaking. We won. The order stands. I knew you would. She could hear the smile in his voice. Come home. We're making celebration pancakes. Home. The word landed different now, felt real. When she walked through Daniel's door an hour later, Emma and Oliver rushed her, asking a dozen questions about where she'd been. Leo stood back, but his smile was genuine. And Daniel, he pulled her into a hug that lasted longer than necessary, his relief palpable. Proud of you, he murmured into her hair. I couldn't have done it without you. Yeah, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. That night, after the kids were asleep and the dishes were done, Maya and Daniel sat on the porch again. It had become their ritual, these quiet conversations under the stars. What happens now? Daniel asked. I keep working, keep saving, eventually find my own place for me and the kids. Or, Daniel turned to look at her. You could stay, make this permanent. Maya's heart stuttered. Daniel, I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other, but these past 2 weeks, having you here, having the kids, it feels right. The house feels alive again. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm not saying we have to rush into anything. I'm just saying there's no rush to leave, either. I can't be a burden. You're not. You're paying rent, splitting groceries, pulling your weight. But more than that, you're bringing something back that's been missing. Joy, laughter, life. He paused. And if I'm being completely honest, I like having you here. I like talking to you at the end of the day. I like watching you become yourself again. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I like being here too. I like who I'm becoming, who the kids are becoming. She wiped her face. But what if Derek finds a way to use this against me, claims I moved in with a man I barely know? Then we deal with it, together. Daniel's voice was firm. I'm not going anywhere, Maya, unless you want me to. I don't want you to. The words came out barely above a whisper. I want to stay. I want the kids to keep going to school with Leo. I want to keep having these porch talks and pancake breakfasts and all of it. Then stay. She looked at him, really looked, saw not just the man who'd opened his door in a rainstorm, but someone who'd become essential, someone who'd shown her what kindness looked like without conditions, what love might look like if she ever learned to trust it again. I'm a mess, she warned. I have nightmares. I jump when doors slam. I'm going to therapy, but it's going to take time to undo 3 years of hell. I've got nightmares too, war ones, Sarah ones. We can be messy together. Daniel's hand found hers. I'm not asking for perfect, Maya. I'm just asking you to stay. She threaded her fingers through his, testing the fit. Okay, we'll stay. His smile was sunrise breaking through clouds. Yeah. They sat there holding hands like teenagers, neither quite ready to name what was growing between them, but both willing to let it grow. Inside, their children slept safely. Above, stars wheeled through the darkness. And for the first time in longer than Maya could remember, the future didn't feel like something to survive. It felt like something to build. 3 months later, Maya stood in Lisa's office, accepting a promotion to full-time with benefits, her own health insurance, her own dental plan, her own 401k. 6 months later, Emma won the school spelling bee, and Oliver's artwork was featured in the district showcase. They were thriving, laughing, growing into kids who didn't flinch at raised voices because there weren't any. 9 months later, Derek's supervised visitation request was denied after he failed to complete court-ordered anger management. Maya stopped checking over her shoulder quite so often. A year later, she and Daniel were still taking things slow, still sleeping in separate rooms, still navigating what it meant to build something real from the wreckage of their previous lives. But there were kisses goodnight now, hands held in public, plans made together that stretched into next month, next year, indefinitely. Leo had stopped calling the guest room and started calling it Maya's room. Emma had stopped asking when they were going home because this was home now. And Oliver, he'd stopped having nightmares entirely. Maya found Daniel in the garage one Saturday afternoon working on a customer's car. He looked up when she entered, wiped grease on his jeans, smiled the smile that still made her heart skip. Hey, what's up? I was thinking about that first night when I showed up on your porch. Yeah, what about it? I was thinking about how I almost didn't knock, almost drove away. She moved closer. I'm glad I didn't. Me too. He set down his wrench, pulled her close despite the grease. Best blind date I never had. She laughed against his chest. We should probably actually go on a real date sometime. Dinner, movie, the normal stuff. Is that what you want? I want a lot of things. She pulled back to look at him. I want to keep building this life, keep watching the kids grow, keep falling asleep to the sound of your voice from the other room. She paused, and eventually maybe not the other room. Daniel's eyes widened. Maya, I'm not ready yet, but someday, when the nightmares are further apart and I've learned to trust myself again. She touched his face. I think someday could be good with you. He kissed her, then soft and careful and full of promise. Not rushing, not pushing, just acknowledging that they were building toward something neither had expected to find. When they pulled apart, Oliver's voice rang out from the house. Mom, Leo says I can't use the red Legos, but they're community property. Maya laughed, wiped at her eyes. I should go referee. Yeah, I'll finish up here. She started toward the door, then turned back. Daniel. Yeah, thank you for opening the door, for everything after. Thank you for knocking, for trusting me enough to stay. She smiled and headed inside into the chaos of 3 kids arguing over Legos, into the normalcy she'd stopped believing possible. Behind her, Daniel returned to his work, whistling off-key, happier than he'd been in years. This wasn't the life either of them had planned. It was messy and complicated and built on the ruins of what came before. But it was theirs, and it was good. And that night, when Maya tucked Emma and Oliver into bed, in rooms that actually belonged to them now, when she kissed them goodnight without fear, when she walked past Daniel's room and saw him reading to Leo one last time before sleep, she allowed herself something she'd been too afraid to feel for 3 years. Gratitude, hope, joy, the belief that tomorrow might actually be better than today. She stood in the hallway of this house that had become home, listening to the sounds of her children breathing, of Daniel's voice gentle with his son, of ordinary life happening all around her, and she whispered to the universe, to fate, to whatever force had led her to knock on this particular door on this particular rainy night. Thank you. No one answered. But in the quiet house, in the safety of walls that held love instead of fear, Maya felt something shift and settle inside her chest. She was home. They all were. And the man who'd once been a stranger, who'd opened his door when she had nowhere else to go, had become family. Not by blood or marriage or any traditional measure, but by choice, by showing up, by building something new from broken pieces, by being brave enough to let love grow in unexpected places. Maya turned off the hallway light and headed to her room, leaving the doors cracked so she could hear her children if they called. Outside, rain began to fall, soft and gentle, nothing like the storm that had driven her here a year ago. This time the rain sounded like a lullaby,